Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial I am going to show you how we can implement JWT authentication with Zustand and MMKV in React Native. So here you can see this is a simple screen where we have login and register button. For the register button we doesn't have anything because we are focusing on login. So let's click on login and here we have a pretty basic screen where we have the username and password field and a sign in button. So let me provide a random detail. So after providing here we can see that we have invalid credentials error in this alert box and here as well. Now let me provide the correct one. So here I have provided correct username and password. Now let's click on sign in. So after clicking on sign in, we have logged in and here we have two screen, index and profile. This would be our home screen. And as this is not a UI tutorial, I didn't provided the icon and the title of the header properly, but you can understand that these are two tabs, right? And here in this tutorial, we are mainly focusing on the functionality implementation of the JWT authentication. Right, that is what here we can see the user information and here in the profile we have the logout button. But before that, let me reload the app. So after reloading, here you can see we have logged in automatically and for a brief moment there was a loader, right? So that is what we are going to implement today. We are going to implement JWT authentication and we are going to store our login data based on the access token and refresh token, and based on that we are going to log in the user automatically to the app. And now I can log out and here if I reload the app then we can see that we are logged out, right? And we need to again log in to access our app. So this is what we are going to implement today in this tutorial. If you are interested in these kinds of tutorial, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new tutorial on this channel. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So here I have created a new Expo project with create Expo app command, and here we can see we have the default app and I don't want all of these files, so that's why I will provide npm run reset project command, and by this I want to delete all these files, and right now we simply have these two files. Now let's run this. So we have this index and layout. Now with this I want to create few more files, so let me create those. So first I will create login tsx. So here I have created the login screen, and then let me create register, and here let me provide link to these two screens. So here for the button I will provide login, and here for the on press of it I will provide router, and this router needs to be imported from Expo router, and then I will push this login screen, and then similarly I will create register. Now save it. Now let's see. So here we can see this is the login screen and this is the register screen, right? And now with it I want to create the tab screens as well. So here let's create tabs, and within this tabs directory let me create layout first, and within it also I will create few screens. The first one would be the index. So let me copy this login screen code, and here let's create index tsx, and here I will name it as page, and let's copy it for profile as well. And for this tab layout let me create this tab layout file, and instead of view it will be tabs from Expo router. Okay, and here within this layout let me provide the stack, and within this stack first we will have the stack screen index, then we will have the login, and then we will have the register, which is correct. So right now we can see this is how our screen is presented without having the header. And here let me provide the style for register and login screen. So now it is looking good, and here from this root layout I want to display these tab screens as well with the new feature introduced in Expo Router 5, which is called protected screens. So let me provide that. So here I can group stack.protected like this, and within this stack I can provide stack screen tabs, and here we have these tabs with the bracket, and similarly here also we can provide protected grouping for this, and here you can see that we have an error, and the error is that we need to provide a prop which is guard, and for the guard we need to provide true or false. So here let me create a constant called is authenticated, and let me provide that here, and here for the guard I have provided not is authenticated, and it will be displayed if it is authenticated. So let me provide true value here. So now save it. So here you can see that if it is true, then we are presented with this home screen and profile screen, and if it is not true, then we are presented with the login and register screen. This protected is the new addition with Expo Router 5, and here you can see that it is great to handle this authentication within this layout pretty easily with this protected grouping. Right, now we need to get this is authenticated dynamically with the login functionality, and to do that, first we need to install two packages. The first one is the Zustand. So let me go to the documentation of it, and here we can see the npm install command. So here let's install Zustand, and after that we need to install React Native MMKV, and here for the Expo we have this command. So let me copy it and paste it here, and with this mmkv we need to create this pre-build. So this mmkv is a faster alternative to async storage, as you can see over here, and I have already created many more tutorials on these two packages, which is Zustand and MMKV previously. You can check those out from the description below, and also I will create a separate playlist for Zustand and MMKV, and I will provide that playlist link in the description as well. And for MMKV we need to create pre-build. So here with npx expo pre-build we are creating that, and with that you can see we have the Android and iOS folder. Right, now after installing these packages, now let's start creating the functionality of the login screen and register screen. But before that I want to create the login screen basic layout. Here first let me create a container style, and this is the container. So here I want to provide username and then the text input, and for the text input placeholder I want to provide this username text, and for the style let's create a style called input, and for the input I will provide border width 1, margin bottom 10, and for the padding I will provide this 10 pixel. So let's provide the input here, and here it will be password, and for the password here I want to provide password, and it would be a secure text entry. And after that I want to create a button, and for the button title I will provide sign in, and for the on press of it, as of now it will be an empty function. So that is the login screen, and here to handle these two fields we need to create few states. So first we need to create username state, and here I want to import it from React. Then after that I want to create the password state as well, and here for this text input value I want to provide username this state, and for the onChange text I want to set the username. Similarly here for the password I also want to do the same. For the value I want to provide password, and for the onChange text I want to set the password. Now save it. So we have created the login screen, and here it is still creating the pre-build. First time it will take some time, and later on it will not take that much. So let me stop recording and I will come back when this pre-build will be completed. Okay, so the pre-build have been completed, and now we need to run it. So for that npx expo run iOS. For the iOS we need to provide iOS, and for Android we need to provide Android here. So now hit enter. Okay, so here you can see that open in the app name. Let's click on open. So here the app is opening. So now the app is a standalone app. Here you can see this is the app. It is not opening in Expo Go. Okay, so we can now get rid of it, and now if we go to login, then here we can see we have the login screen ready, and here let's get rid of this align items center, and for the padding let's provide 20. Okay, so now it's looking good. So this is the login UI. Now we need to implement the functionality of the login. So that's why I will create a new directory called store, and here I will create authstore.ts, and here let me first import create from Zustand, and first we need to create the type of the store, and here it will be authstore, and the type of it would be is authenticated and set is authenticated as of now. And here I will create the use authstore like this. So here within the create I will provide the type, and here we can get the setter function and getter function like this, set and get, and here we can provide the initial values. First it would be is authenticated as false, and here whatever the is authenticated that we are setting, but that is not the main thing. The main thing is that we want to provide login and logout functionality. So here let's create login, and for the login we will set is authenticated as true, and for logout we will set is authenticated as false, and here we need to provide these two as well in the type. So that's what I have added. It is a void function, and the logout also is a void function. Now save it. Now after that here we can access it like this. So here use auth store, so this needs to be imported from our auth store file, and now let's access the login, and here let's create handle login, and for the on press let's pass that handle login function. And here in the app layout we have provided the hard coded is authenticated, but instead of that we can get is authenticated from auth store file from use auth store. Now let's save. Now after that let's click on this sign in, and after clicking on this sign in it will trigger this login function in which our is authenticated is set to true, and when it will be set to true it will automatically go to this tab layout. By this stack protected we are handling that, right? Let's click here, and you can see with that automatically it is handling it. So it is pretty good that it is automatically checking it, and based on that it is providing the proper route. We don't need to provide routing or replace route, those kind of things we don't need to handle. So it is pretty good. As you can see it is very straightforward and seamless experience to implement this kind of protected route. Now after that let's implement the logout. So within the profile I will provide logout button. So let's create the button logout, and here let's import logout from our auth store. Let's provide that. Now click here, and you can see that that's how it is working, right? So this is the power of this stack protected grouping. Now let's implement the actual login, which is the JWT authentication, and for that I'm going to use this dummy JSON endpoint. And here you can see this is the API. We can call the API like this, and we can pass this data, and we can get the output like this. So here in this output we can get the access token, refresh token, and all the other information related to the user. This access token and refresh token is the main part of the JWT authentication. Based on this we will log in the user and handle the user. So here you can see if we want to get the user data, then with the access token we can get the user data from the API, and then we can refresh the auth session by providing the refresh token. So here also you can see this is the output. So initially we will get the access token and refresh token. After this access token would be expired, then we can get a new access token by calling this refresh endpoint. Okay, and from that we can get the access token and refresh token, and from the access token you can see that we can get the auth data or the user data, right? So this is what we are going to use. So now let me copy this endpoint, and then here let me create this functionality properly. So here we don't need this set is authenticated. We will store the access token. So we will manage the access token with Zustand. So that's why I have created a type for it. Now after this access token I want to handle refresh token as well, and it will be similar to this. Then whatever the user details we will get from this output, I want to store that. So that's why I have created user, and it would be object type or null, and then finally I will handle the access token expiry and it will be number or null. Okay, so here as you can see we have this access token expiry present, and here you can see expires in minute. We can provide the value and it is optional, right? It is optional and by default it is 60. So if we want to provide it, we can provide 30 minutes like this, or if we don't provide it, then by default after 60 minutes this access token will get expired. We need to get a new access token by the refresh token, so that expiration we need to handle. So that's why I have created this access token expiration. Now here by default it will be like this: is authenticated false, initial value for access token null, user null, all this will be null. Now for the login, here it would be an async function, and here we would get username string and the password which would be string as well. Now here within it we need to first call the API, and I will call the API within the try block. Let's create response await fetch, and here I will provide our API call like this, and let's see what we need to provide. We need to provide the username and password. So here with the JSON stringify we are already providing username and password, and as we have the same name, so that's why we don't need to provide it like this username because these two are same, so that's why it will be like this. Now after that we need to provide credentials. As you can see here we need to provide include, so that is how we need to call the API. And after that let's check for the response. If response is not okay, then we will throw an error which would be login failed or invalid credentials. And after that if it is okay, then we can get the data by providing await response JSON like this. And then right now let's output it in the console, this data, and this is the try block. Now after this try, let's handle the error. So let's create the catch error, and here for the success let's provide return, and for the error let's return false. Okay, so here it is showing an error and it is related to the type. So previously we were providing the type of void, but right now it is mentioning that it needs to be like this: username password. So we are required this username password and we will return this boolean. So this is the type. I have added it over here. Now the error have been gone. Right, now let's save it. Now after that for the login we need to pass those username and password. So here first we need to convert it to async function, and we need to await the login, and here we need to pass the username and password, and we are already handling it over here. So whatever value we are putting in this text input fields, that will be updated to these states, and we can pass it by clicking on this sign in button, right? And now I can get the value of it within a constant, and I can check for it. If it is not success, then we will provide an alert invalid credentials like this, and also I can provide a title to this alert box like this. And if it is success, then we have already seen that we don't need to provide anything. It will automatically handled by this protected group. It will automatically go to the tabs layout. Right, now let's save it. Now after that we need to go to this login, and here we need to provide the username and password. So let me provide some random username and password, and let's click here. So here we can say we have the error invalid credentials, right? So it is the error which we are seeing, and here we have this invalid credentials error which is we are getting from this throw new error. Okay, as this response is not okay, so to get the response okay, here we can see we have this username and password, and here you can get any user's credentials from this users list. So here you can see we have many users list present. We can use any of the users from here. Okay, so here we can see this username password, right? So that's what we have present, but here we already have the username and password present, so I'm going to use that. So here let's provide Emily's, and here for the password let's provide Emily's pass. Here it is Emily's pass, right? So now let's click sign in. Now after clicking on sign in, here we can see we have the result in the console. So that is the data we are getting, right? Access token, email, username, last name, first name, image, and refresh token, right? So this is the output what they have provided. That is the data we are getting. Now let's comment out this console log, and now let's create the auth data object. And here for this auth data we want to provide is authenticated as true, then access token, the data access token. Here we need to provide access token as we will get it like this. Then for refresh token we would get data dot refresh token, and for the user I'm going to provide the data. So this is the data. You can see that console log and all the data whatever we are getting, that I want to provide it in the user. And after that we have the access token expiration, and that we don't have any value returned here, so we need to handle it, and I can handle it like this. So date dot now plus, here I can handle it like this. So 60 minute multiplied by 60 second multiplied by 1000, which is converting it to millisecond. It is adding the 1 hour to the current time when we are setting it, so it would be 1 hour. Now we can set auth data, and this set is the set function, which is the Zustand function. So by this we can access the is authenticated here. Okay, and for the logout let's provide all of this. So is authenticated is false and all the other values would be null. Now save it. Now after that let's click here again. So we have the username and password. Now let's click sign in, and with that we can see that we are logged in automatically, because right now we are handling it properly. We are setting the is authenticated with that other values as well, and we are getting it here, and based on that, as we have seen previously, we are automatically logging in. And here let's click logout. So it is doing the logout and login functionality perfectly well, but right now we are not storing the login state. So let me log in again, Emily's pass. Now let's sign in, and now if I reload the app, then we can see that we are not storing the login state. So that's why we are not presented with the logged in screen. We need to log in again, so that we need to implement now, and for that we need to use mmkv. So here within the stored directory, let me create storage.ts file, and here let me import mmkv from React Native mmkv, and then let's create the storage, and here I will provide id auth storage. Now let's create set item constant, and here we would set the item with the key value, and here for the value we would get the object. As we have seen here, this is the auth data object, and this is what we want to store. So that's why value type would be object, and here we don't need to use async await, because we can simply store it like this, storage.set, and here as we are storing the object, so we need to store it like this. We need to stringify. Now as we are setting it with set item, we need to get the item, so that is the get item. We are getting the value by the string get string. So all these things you can get it over here. So here we can set the item, get the item, right? So string, number, and if we are handling the objects, then this is how we can store it, and we can get it like this. So that is what we are getting. So we are getting the string of the key, and then we are parsing the data, JSON data, right? And then we need to remove the item as well, so that we can do it by this storage.delete. And here also we can see that this is how we can delete, right? So that's what we have done here. So our storage have been created. Now we need to access that. So here we are storing the auth data in our state by this set. Now we need to save the data in mmkv as well. So save in mmkv. So here let's call the set item. So this set item needs to be imported from our storage. So this is the set item which we are getting. So that's why I have exported it. Right now here we can set it like this. So for the set item we need to provide a key. So that is the key I have provided, and this is the value which we are storing. Okay, and this set is setting the data in Zustand, which is the state management. Now for the logout we need to remove the item. So here we need to remove the auth. Okay, we are getting the error because I think I haven't provided this curly bracket here. Yeah, so now save it. After that we need to create a check auth function, and this check auth function will be responsible for checking this is authenticated when the app reloads or app opens. That time it will run this function and then it will check if the user is authenticated or not, and based on that it will display here. So that's why we need to create this function, and here we need to get the item from auth key, and this get item needs to be imported from storage, and then if the auth is present then we are setting it with the auth. Instead of auth, let me call this auth data, then it would be much better. So if we get the auth data then we will set the auth data. Right, so here also let's change it to auth data, and for the remove item also we would remove the auth data. Okay, so now here we would return false, but if we have the auth data then we would return true. And here with is authenticated we would get check auth, and here we need to create the type of it so that we can access it here. So here I can get it check auth, and now within the use effect hook we can call this check auth function, and we need to call it in a function. So let me create init, and it would be an async function, and we need to call this function here. And with this I want to handle loading state. So let me create is loading, and let's import use state hook from React, and by default it would be true. And when we would get the check auth then we would set is loading as false, and here if is loading is true then I want to display a loader, an activity indicator. So here I want to provide it like this, and it needs to be within a view, and let's close this view here. So here it is justify content and align items center. So that's looking good. Now let's see. So here the username and password, let's click sign in. So we are signed in. Now let's reload, and here we can see after reloading also we are presented with the home screen, right? And for a brief moment we can see the loader, right? So that is how we need to implement it. So we are storing the data in mmkv, and we are getting the data from mmkv storage, and based on that we are handling here, and then we are providing proper route. But here we are not handling one thing, which is refreshing the access token. So that is one crucial thing which we need to consider, and that we need to implement here. It is a basic implementation of checkauth, but we need to handle the access token expiration as well. So let me do that properly. So here first, if we don't have the auth data then we would return false, and from the auth data we need to get the access token expiration, and refresh token as well. And here if we have the access token and access token expiration time is greater than current time, then we would set the auth data and return true. Here we are adding the 1 hour time to the current time, and we are storing that to our access token expiration, right? So here for the access token expiration we are checking with current time. So if it is more than 1 hour, or if the current time is the time which is stored here. So if this time is greater than this current time, so that means we are within the 1 hour time, then we will set the auth data and return true. And also I would check if we would have the access token expiration, then we would check for this, and if it is not, then it would fall into this category. If we have refresh token, then we need to refresh the token. So for that I need to create another function which is called refresh access token, and now here I need to create the type of it, and it will also be boolean. So here within the try block, first we would get the refresh token from the get function, which is our Zustand get function. So within Zustand we are setting the state with the set function, and from the state we can get it by this get function. So from that we want to get the refresh token, and then we want to call the refresh token API endpoint. So this is the auth session refresh endpoint, and here let's await fetch this dummy JSON auth refresh, and here we need to provide method post headers application JSON, and for the body we need to provide JSON stringify refresh token. So here JSON stringify refresh token, and as this is the same name, so that's why we can only provide refresh token like this. Okay, and here we need to provide credentials include, and here let's check if the response is not okay, then we can throw an error, and then if everything is okay, then we can get the data like this. And after getting the data we can create the updated auth data, and this auth data will be like this. So whatever we are getting from the get, that we want to get like this, and we need to update the access token and the refresh token, as we would get access token and refresh token only from this API. So that's what we want to update like this, and from the get we already get all this data which we are storing. So that is the auth data. So we would get is authenticated user, all these things, and access token refresh token as well, but we want to update it with the newly fetched data from this data constant. And here also I want to update the access token expiration with this newly added data, which is 1 hour to the current time. Now I want to set with the updated data, and with the set also we need to set the item as well for the storage. So it would be auth data, which is similar to this login function. Okay, and after that we would return true, and then for the error let's provide error, and here I would provide this text error refreshing access token, and with that we need to call the logout function, so that we can call from this get.logout, and now we need to call it here. So if we have refresh token, then we can set auth data, and we need to call the refresh access token function. So this is the function, and as we have seen that we can call it by this get function, then the function, and we need to, and we can return it here. So if it is true, then it would be true. If it is false, it would be false, and it will call the logout, right? So now finally save it, and after that here let's see logout and then login Emily's. Okay, so here for the login text input auto capitalize none, so that this first letter doesn't get capitalized. Now let's reload the app. Emily's pass. So we are signed in, and here for the index let me get the user data from use auth store. So here we can get the user, and here let's provide welcome user dot username email. So username, email, first name, last name, all these things we are getting. So I want to display that. Right, now let's reload. So it is working perfectly well, right? And logout we have seen it is working. So this is how we need to implement the JWT authentication properly with Zustand and MMKV. So this is the tutorial guys. I hope you have learned something new from this tutorial. If you do so, then hit the like button. Let me know by commenting down below. If you have any kind of suggestion for me, then also let me know. And don't forget to share this tutorial with your friends and colleagues. And I will see you guys in my next tutorial. In the meantime, have a great day. Goodbye.